Is music just stupid? Why do we even listen to music? Why do we even care about music? Why is it that when we listen to music, we feel something and then we start moving? Have you actually sat down and considered that? What makes music so fundamental to the human existence, the brain, the psyche, psychology? I'm willing to bet that most of you are surrounded by noise your entire day and you don't even realize it. Whether it be the hum of the air conditioner, which you can hear beautifully in the background of my video right now, that usually sits at around 70 decibels. In my case, it's 67. That's a lot louder than you realize it is. Think about that. When you turn on your washer or your dryer, that sound is like, oh, whoa, that's noticeable. Something changed. But once it runs for a while, you don't really notice it so much anymore until it turns off. And then your brain kind of forgets that it even turned off. But when it turns on, you're like, oh, wow, that was a change. It's 70 decibels of change. And that's just constantly running in the background as if it's just nothing. Now add to that, sound of a keyboard typing. That's anywhere from 40 decibels on the low end to 70 decibels on the high end. Yet more noise. Going outside and then the din of traffic is anywhere from 70 dB to 80 dB. Inside your car, no air conditioning. That's another 70 or 80 dB. There is tons of noise everywhere. Now consider, if your response is, well, I don't really notice that stuff because I'm listening to music the whole time that's going on. That's also noise. Your brain is being constantly hit by sound, and you're choosing to pound it with some more music all the time, or incessant talking like my ass is doing right now. Have you actually thought about how that affects your brain? Whether that's these people yammering in your ear and you're only paying half attention while you're working at your desk or playing a video game, or really more specifically, the whole lack of silence throughout your entire day until you rest your head on your pillow, and even then, you're probably still playing something to fall asleep. Do you understand how not healthy and not normal that is to constantly have noise everywhere? Have you tried abstaining from music or abstaining from sound for an extended period of time? Do you really need that much distraction from your own thoughts? Are you really that afraid of what's going on up there? Because I found, and a lot of other people have found, once you remove that external stimulus, suddenly you realize just how noisy it is up here. I have been spending a lot more of my days in relative silence. Most of that is spent in prayer, but some of that's spent in meditation. I have been greatly reducing how much music I get exposed to in a day, and that's as a music professional. So then when you come back to exposing yourself to music, it's actually kind of jarring. I cannot speak for the rest of the world, but in America, we are told that consuming is good and consuming more is better. Whether you're in a grocery store, a restaurant, a bar, an Uber, every one of those places has background music. All of that pointing you towards buying more shit. Do you think that that's all music is good for? Just something to service as background noise to not make you actually in tune with your thoughts, to distract you from thinking with yourself? Music is just one more piece of noise in an already noisy world. I'm sure there's people watching this who don't think so, but then consider how you treat music. If you're listening to music, that's information that's manipulating your mind. Have you even considered that? Any stimulus that goes in is manipulating your brain, whether you are agreeing to that or not. You are brainwashing yourself with sound, whether you realize it or not. What messages are you filling yourself with? I'm not just talking about the lyrics. I mean, just the music itself. That's a message. What emotion are you forcing your mind to be locked into against its will when you listen to music? This goes beyond the fact that I think society should hold music in much higher regard. This is happening to you regardless of your opinion about it. Science backs this up. Music has a profound impact on the brain. So when you're listening to music, is it just a more pleasing form of noise that you choose because you're the one that got to choose how you got distracted today? Is that how you treat music? Just some auditory cheesecake to keep you from looking at just how fucked up you are on the inside? If your answer is no, then I invite you to do this. Stop listening to music for a week. Because anything worth appreciating needs to be savored. And anything consumed in gluttony is wasted. I am willing to bet most of you watching right now are probably music and content gluttons. You put stuff in your ears without even thinking about it. Sometimes you even regret it while you're listening to it. Gee, almost sounds like the alcoholic who doesn't understand why they keep buying more drinks. I'm not judging. I was in the same boat for almost my entire life, and I'm still struggling with that fight today. We have been conditioned to do this. I mean, shit, want to point at my hypocrisy? I have a live stream where 2 days out of the week, I listen to music nonstop for 4 to 6 hours. That's not how music was meant to be listened to. I am painfully aware of that. Take some time away from music, and while you're at it, just all content. Then come back to it after your fast and notice what's different. You're gonna hear things like you've never heard them before, but one of the biggest things you'll notice is just how incessant most of it is. Just constantly pounding and screaming for your attention. Most of the music today is so exaggerated and busy. I mean, even what we would consider nuance is still a massive lack of nuance by comparison to how shit used to be. Is that really what music is supposed to be? Just a massive distraction from living your life, or like thinking your own thoughts for yourself. We Westerners in our infinite wisdom have an exceedingly narrow definition of music. I remember for one of my live streams, I made a theme that you couldn't suggest any song with guitar in it whatsoever. And people were having trouble figuring out what songs to suggest. The vast majority of music has no guitars. The guitar is a relatively recent invention. Most music throughout history didn't even have drums, and especially not a drum kit. We think that like music didn't exist before 1920. We think classical music is John Williams. We think a cappella is pentatonics. We think the atomic unit of a song is the guitar riff. Thank you so much for that one, Finn. We judge the goodness of music based upon the words being spoken instead of, the actual music. There's nothing inherently wrong with any of this outside of context, but like, do you realize how much music you're leaving off the table by just having this very narrow thought? Do you have any idea where music comes from? Do you really love music, or do you just like being distracted? Do you actually care about music and like what it does for people? Or do you just love your addiction the way that a drunk loves beer? A good way of demonstrating that you do love something is being able to let it go. You should step away from music for a little bit. I think that's a good way of learning how to appreciate music again. Anything worthy of respect shouldn't be abused, and I think that we have a society that is exceedingly abusing music. In general, we really just don't spend enough time in silence, and it is ruining us. And as extremely counterproductive and hypocritical as this sounds, if you actually do want to learn more about music, why it exists, what it does to people, you want to check out my Perlovsky series. This will answer some of your questions, and if you decide not to watch it, take your damn content and music fast. You need less noise in your life. You're someone worthy of love, and you should probably say hi to yourself every once in a while. I think you'd really appreciate that.